I already did an unboxing of this and talked a little bit about the devices, but one thing I didn't mention is that the larger camera, the one for the front windshield, shoots at 1000 or 1080, and the rear camera shoots at 720. So they're good quality cameras. Now we're doing this install on my 2015 Mustang, so let's go ahead and get started. Now the first thing that we're going to do, since I am tapping into the fuses, is we want to remove this panel right here. We'll do that by pulling out, grabbing at the top, and just kind of pull up, pops out. Now you can see the clips where they are. So right here, so you'll pop that one out, and then if you look, you can see where it has a lip, so that's where you pull up. Now some people might actually mount the cameras first and then run the cable, but what I want to do is I want to run the power cable, get power to the cameras, connect to the camera, and then mount them. That way I can make sure that there's nothing obstructing the cameras, and that we're going to get a good clear view. So that's how I'm going to do it. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go ahead and run my cable along the headliner, and I'm also going to run it through this little piece. If you pull up, it kind of drops down and you can run a cable up through there. So that's what we're going to do first. And the way that we're going to run the cable is using the supplied trim tool. All you have to do is get the cable up there, use this tool to push it behind the headliner. There's a little bit of a play, so we're going to run it along the headliner, then we're going to push it into the pillar. Now you could remove the pillars, but it's a little bit more of a hassle, so we'll just tuck the cable through there. We'll tuck it along this seam, or along the seal, coming all the way down, and then I'm going to run it across, down through here. Me being the way I am, and just how I like things done, I'm going to remove this panel. I've already loosened this one. This panel along the side, and the pillar. That way when I run the cable from right here, I can run it, tuck it behind the headliner, run it down where the pillar would go, down through here, and that way you're not going to see any of the cable. So it's going to be hidden behind all of this. So I'm going to go ahead and start removing these. Now for this first one, sorry for the dark video, it's hard to get a very good video in this. But for the first one, you'll just grab, pull out, pull up. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. Just kind of run your fingers down. Okay. There we go. Now you can see where the clips are on this panel. So this is the front portion. So you got two clips here, one clip here, one clip here. So that's why I say just pull this out and then just kind of run your finger under it. Now, before I remove these other two panels, I'm going to go ahead and remove the pillar, because it covers up these panels, and there's kind of a way to remove them to make sure you don't break anything. So this has clips as well. You just want to get a hold of it and just kind of work it. The pillar has, for me, been the more difficult one to remove, because I've removed the driver's side and it just wasn't the easiest thing. There we go. Now I'm gonna try leaving it loose, because this is quite a pain to pull out and put back in. and get it right. So I just want enough to where I can actually tuck the cable underneath and actually be able to remove these panels. Now that we have the pillar loose, I'm going to go ahead and remove this panel. This panel, just get a hold of it and just kind of pull it. If you can completely remove this, it makes it a little bit easier because it's not in the way. But for whatever reason, I've never had any luck removing this one by itself. It wants to come off with the actual dash trim, and I don't want to break anything. There we go. So I decided to go ahead and remove the bottom panel first. You have to get under there and tug pretty hard. It has these two metal clips right here. So if you grab right here, just kind of give it a good pull. So now that leaves a little bit more room so I can get this panel off. Okay, there we go. This one again, this is just held on with 4 clips. Just kind of work it, make sure you don't break it. But you're gonna hear those nasty sounds, so don't worry too much. Now that that's done, we can go ahead and run the cable. And again, how I'm gonna do this is I'm gonna just guess how much slack I'm gonna need. I shouldn't need too much. So something like that. So what I'm going to do is take, and you can actually, on this headliner, you really don't even need to use the trim tool. You can just take, pull down a little bit, fish it up in there. Depends on how picky you want to be with it. Okay, and now we're just going to run it down the gap that we have in the pillar. Once you get to the point where if you decided not to remove it all the way, once you get down here where it's a little bit tighter, you can start using the trim tools. Now if you look, I have all of this extra cable. I have a ton of cable left. So what I'm going to do is once I'm starting to button everything back up, I'm actually going to fold this cable back up along with any excess wiring I get from the Power Pro box. And I'm just going to zip tie it, tuck it out of the way. That way we don't have anything hanging or anything that doesn't look like it's done well. So I decided to go ahead and mount the cameras just so I can it was easier to run the cables with them attached to the camera. They had something to anchor to. So plugged in the front camera and powered it using just the power supply right here. I held it up there and I got it in the best place that I thought would be, or what I thought would be the best place for it. And then I ran it, this little piece, you can just pull it up and it comes out and you're able to run your cables through there. So I ran both cables through there. The power supply cable, I ran it along the headliner. Again, I pulled this back some so that I could run the cable all the way down it instead of pushing it behind there, coming down and then having a cable exposed right here. So if you notice, everything is ran nice and neat. I'm still at the point of having to power it, but it's something that no one's gonna see and it's not gonna get in the way of anything. Now, you don't have to remove this. That was just me being more of a perfectionist. This piece is a pain in the butt to remove as well as put back into place. These panels, this one, and the one that goes right here are pretty easy. This one's the one that's a pain. For the rear camera, I ran the cable again through that little black piece down the headliner, and I didn't remove any panels. I just tucked it in the headliner. I got back here, I had a ton of cable left, so right here with the excess cable that I had, I rolled it up, twist tied it, and then stuffed it in the headliner, ran it, and mounted to the camera right here. And again, I did the same thing with the rear. I hooked it up, powered it, looked at it on my phone to see what would be the best position, because if you just stick it there, it's very possible that you can get the defrosting lines in the line of sight. So you want to find the best place that you're not going to get any of that that's going to get in the way of the camera. Now, just to show y'all how I did the wiring, is I did go ahead and get fuse taps. You can order them off Amazon. I was not able to find any at my local auto parts store. And what I ended up doing is tying into fuse 2 for the battery, which is the yellow wire. And then I tied into, I'm not sure what number that, 36. I tied into that for the accessory. The reason being is I wanted to tie in to number 23, but the fuse tap wouldn't fit. All the fuse taps wouldn't fit together with the green fuse there. So I ended up tapping into 36. Then for my ground, there's a bolt that's easily accessible when removing this panel. I just ground the wire to that. With the box, this is how I have it set. This is the best way I figured out, or this is the only way I figured out to get it to work when it's off. So see right now the car is off and it's working fine. The car still starts. The instructions on the top say it's 12 volts, but then I looked really closely right here, and it says 11.8 volts at the top. When I do, so for example, it's on. I'm going to go ahead and flip this second one up to 12 volts. It still stays on. There we go. So when you turn it off on 12 volts, it won't turn back on. Now I'm going to go ahead and push it back down to 11.8. There we go, it works. Now that's something you can play with. Each car is going to be different. All that's left to do, I'm just going to twist tie all the cables. I'm going to wind them up, put them together, stuff them right in this little compartment, or this little opening right here. And put everything back together, and then your install will be done. I did go ahead and tape the adapters together. If you heard, that's the dash cam starting. But I went ahead and taped that just so they would be tight. I used electrical tape. And for my fuse taps, I soldered the wires together. I don't like using the little adapters, or whatever they're called, where you crimp the wires together. I don't like using those, so I cut those off and soldered the wires together, and then used shrink wrap and electrical tape. I got everything buttoned up. This is how I mounted the Power Magic Pro. That way it's pretty much out of the way. I don't see it, and I ended up having to use the screws because the 3M tape does not stick to texture. But as you can see, you don't see any wires. It's all concealed. All the way to the back. So, alright, if y'all have any questions, feel free to comment below. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Y'all take care. Have a great day.